Welcome to the presentation. Today's presentation is going to be looking at the laws of nature. We are going to talk about what is known in esotericism as natural law or the principles of nature. In the Hermetic tradition, they call this the Hermetic principles. So today we're going to be looking at a very interesting topic which discusses how nature functions, regardless of human perception, regardless of what human beings believe, regardless of individual or subjective beliefs. Nature has principles, it has laws which are discoverable and can be discovered by any individual with the desire to know or with the desire to discover nature's principles. Another term for the laws of nature is natural law or objective cosmic law. So before we begin the presentation, I always like to give a disclaimer. Do not be deceived by the messenger, but rather focus on the content of the message. If the individual listening focuses on the tone, the voice, or the individual who is speaking, they will then lose the point of the presentation, which is the knowledge and the content itself. So, with that being said, have an open mind. You may take this as entertainment, as music. You can take it as a meditative trance that just helps you to relax. Either way, here we go. So before we begin discussing the principles of nature, let us discuss the term truth. Theologians, philosophers, religious fanatics, spiritual seekers, as well as scientists have always been fascinated by the concept of truth. What is truth? What is the truth? Truth is objective, meaning that it is not based on the perceptions of human beings, which are capable of wavering. Truth is simply that which is. It is that which has occurred in the past and that which is occurring in the present. So in other words, truth does not need us to say it. Truth simply is. And because of that, many people have faith in truth. And I would argue that the best religion, the best spiritual foundation is truth, because no human being, no argument, no concept can ever put truth in a box. It is by definition opposed to illusions and lies. Therefore, it is objective. So this presentation, you could say that it is an appreciation of truth. It is not meant to change individuals' beliefs. It is not meant to persuade or convince individuals into a certain occult religion or a certain spiritual sect, but rather it is meant to appreciate truth. So truth is objective, as I am going to be appreciating the truth of the sages, the ancient masters, esoteric literature, as well as the ancient magi's. I am going to be doing it from a position of objectivity rather than subjectivity. So let us begin. So the laws of nature, or the principles of nature. I'm going to start by discussing the ancient magi or magician who was known or is known as Hermes Trismegistus. Now, Hermes Trismegistus, also known as the thrice great one, Other religions, other spiritual, esoteric literature, doctrines call him Thoth. Thoth. Now, Hermes Trismegistus, as he is walking down his path, he sees two serpents fighting in the ocean. As these two serpents are fighting, he goes to these two serpents that were fighting and he puts his rod in between them, which maintains a balance between the two serpents. And then in the very act of him doing this, the two serpents were balanced. They stopped fighting. They stopped arguing. They stopped their conflict. So this is symbolic. It is not literal. In other words, it doesn't mean that Hermes Trismegistus, as a magician, actually saw two snakes fighting and then he put his rod in between them and they stopped fighting. But it is a symbol for humanity, the inner conflict, which reflects the outer conflict of humanity and how to stop that conflict. In other words, in order to change the macrocosmos, individuals need to actually have the desire to learn, the desire to know, and then take the rightful actions in order to change themselves first. And then the outside will fall into place. Let's appreciate the art, the literature, the esoteric doctrines of the ancient magi. So the reputed author or source of the Hermetic writings is Hermes Trismegistus. He wrote a book which was known as the Hermetic Corpus, which is basically a group of writings on natural law. So his works were a work of revelation on occult subjects and theology. Now, the word occult just means hidden science, hidden knowledge, hidden esoteric doctrines, which if the individual learns with a serene mind and a prayerful attitude and a meditative attitude, it will reveal a lot to the individuals. So Hermeticism concerned itself with theology and philosophy. So the famous works of Hermes are basically in the books which I just mentioned, the Hermetic Corpus, also the Emerald Tablet. It is also known as the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. So these books are a concise summary of the principles of alchemy and the laws of nature. Now, if you look at the word alchemy, chemistry today comes from alchemy. However, chemistry in the modern day contemporary society has lost the first two letters, A-L, al. Now, al in Arabic refers to God. So it is the chemistry of God. It is the science of God, the science of divinity, the chemistry of divinity. This is what the ancient Magi's were trying to achieve, to understand at the same time with a meditative attitude and an appreciating manner. They studied and they practiced what they studied in order to achieve alchemy, the science of divinity. So let us now look at the principles that Hermes Trismegistus wrote in his book, The Emerald Tablets. So the principles are basically grouped into seven, the seven principles of natural law. So before we go into them, let me define the term natural law. Natural law is objective truth. Human belief is irrelevant when it comes to the laws of existence and how they operate, just as it is irrelevant to other laws such as gravity and electromagnetism. Laws Natural laws require no belief in order for them to be known or discovered. So in other words, if you have a clown on top of a building, and this clown basically says in his mind, I believe that if I jump from the top of this building, I will fly. The clown may believe with such emotional intensity that he will fly once his legs leave the top of the building. So what happens? The clown jumps off the building, ignoring natural law. What happens to the clown? The clown drops to the ground, to his death, because he or she has ignored natural law, the law of gravity, does not care whether you're a Christian, Hindu, Buddhist, Muslim, white, black, tall, child, or an old person. Natural law responds accurately with precise accuracy. It responds to our actions, our thoughts, and our emotions. So if we act against natural law, we will suffer the consequences. If we, however, train ourselves to perceive truth and align our perceptions to truth rather than vice versa, trying to put truth in a box, if we do the right way, the right thing, in other words, aligning our perceptions to truth, then we can live in harmony, we can live in peace, we can live in a state of balance with nature. When I say nature, I mean the entire cosmos, celestial and terrestrial. So these 7 principles are basically the following. The first one was the principle of mentalism. The all is mind, the universe is mental. The second one is the principle of correspondence. As above, so below, and as within, so is without. The principle of vibration states that nothing rests, everything moves, and everything vibrates, which dissolutes the illusion of death. The principle of polarity, everything is dual, everything has poles, positive and negative. The principle of gender. Gender is in everything. Everything has a masculine and feminine principles. So gender manifests on all planes, mental, physical, and celestial. The principle of rhythm, that is to say, everything is always in a rhythmic motion. In, out, in, out. Just like the heartbeat, it has a rhythm. It is beating slow or fast. Regardless, there is a rhythm that is maintained. And the last one, which in my mind is the most important, the principle of cause and effect, which states that for every cause there's an effect, and for all effects the causes can be discovered and known. So for this specific lecture, for this specific presentation, we are going to look at only 2 of these principles. We're going to try and analyze them, discuss them, as well as just go deep into them so that we have a foundation of the rest of the principles. The first principle we are going to discuss is the principle of cause and effect. Cause and effect. The law of cause and effects. This is where manifested realities have formed due to their underlying causes. The plane of effects constitutes that which has already occurred. As such, no power, I will repeat that, no power to affect change lies in the realm of effects. So in other words, you have your physical body. It is an effect which is present because of a certain cause. And as adults, we all know the cause which brings our physical body into manifestation. So there's nothing we can do about making our body just vanish into thin air. It's here, we have it, it's present, we have to deal with that effect. So there's no power in the realm of effects. Because that which has already occurred cannot unoccur. It has become that which is, and that is the truth. You have a body, it's the truth. You can touch it, you can observe it, you can measure it, scientifically speaking. So human consciousness seems to be trapped upon the plane of effects, meaning that humanity as a whole remains ignorant of the underlying causes which they themselves set into motion and which lead to self-inflicted suffering in their lives. So what is being said here by Hermes? The principle of cause and effect, I'm going to quote from The Matrix Reloaded, the second Matrix movie. Now, in that movie, there's a scene where I believe it was the Merovingian. If I'm incorrect, I apologize. But one of the characters in The Matrix states, "There is no choice. There is only the law of cause and effect." So Neo was being told this. Neo was the main character in The Matrix, and he's being told that there is no choice. There is only the law of cause and effect. In other words, what is. We can't do anything about it. However, if we want to change the effect, we can't do it from the plane of effects. We need to change something else. So we need to transcend into the realm of causality, the realm of causes. But we need to do it in a deliberate, knowing manner, so that the effects which come after will not surprise us. So the point is to transcend the realm of being other people's effects and becoming beings of causality ourselves. Positive causes to specify. So in every moment we are creating something, whether mentally or emotionally. The principle of cause and effect teaches us that we can rise above the realm of being others' effects into becoming beings of causality. So the question is, do we know that we can become beings of causality? If we know that, then we can take the opportunity to knowingly, deliberately, and intentionally make decisions from a space of inner calm or inner peace. So let's just explain this further so that it becomes very clear. In this slide, we see on the right the tree of life, which we've discussed before on this channel. We have Malkuth in Hebrew. That is the physical body, our third dimensional body. So if I look to the left, I look to the right, I look up, I look forward. This is a third dimensional realm, the realm of effects. We go above that, we have our vital body, the body of energy, the body of chi, which enlivens the physical body. So the physical matter which we have is rooted in the vital body, body of energy. So one can become aware of their body, that's one, and they can become aware of the energy which they have. Most people usually complain and say, I feel tired all the time. That is because they are not aware of where their energy is going. So we need to be aware of our energy, because it is that energy which gives life to the physical body itself. So energy is very important, vital energy. And above that, the fourth dimension, we go into the fifth dimension where we have our emotional body and the mental body. But for this slide, we want to talk about the sixth dimension, the causal body, Tifereth. Now, in Kabbalah, the causal world is the realm of conscious will. By exercising willpower, the causal body is strengthened. Just as one can go to the gym and strengthen the physical body, the causal body can also be strengthened. It is the body of willpower, conscious willpower. Now, most people might be surprised to realize that that body can be broken. It can be diseased. It can be affected to a point where the will of the individual becomes dormant. It becomes broken. Very dangerous. Very subtle. Very, very subtle. So this body is sixth dimensional. So we're not going to see a causal body with our two physical eyes, but we can perceive it. And how do we do it? By using it, by using the will, conscious willpower, making decisions from a state of intention. That's how we exercise the causal body. But it is more than just personal willpower. It is the seed of the plane of light and blessedness, in which the will of God is always done. Now, this phrase holds a lot of meaning. In other words, the mental body, our thoughts, we can think what we want to think. The emotional body, our feelings, we can feel what we want to feel at different times. The physical body, we can go where we want to go in any point in the physical world, depending on whether we have the resources. So this is personal willpower. It is more of desire and ego mixed together, creating an existence of a luciferic existence, in other words, where we perceive ourselves as being in control and we do what we want. But the causal body, here the will of God is done. So this is not our will. Now this is the will of the divine. It's a little bit higher and subtle. Now what does this mean? It is the state where there is nothing to hold on to anymore. This is pure divine will without desire. Even the desire for time dissolves. Even the desire for answers dissolves. Even the desire for desire is dissoluted. So esoteric traditions would call it the deathless state. In this state, there is no desire for life. There is no desire for death. There is no desire. There is just pure divine will. So certain esoteric or occult sciences would also define or describe the causal body as empty of form, but not empty as there's nothing there, but empty as it is complete, whole, and fulfilled because it is no longer in time. The sixth dimension is outside of time. It's beyond time. There's no time. It's just spacious silence, which is not the silence of let's have a moment of silence when someone dies, not that kind of a silence, but a deep, inner, self-absorbed, meditative silence. So, in that state of the causal body, what I just did there, I stopped and then I started speaking. That is linear thinking. That is linear thought. So if you're following the argument, you're following the argument in time. The argument is going to end at some point, and you're going to find yourself somewhere else in time doing something else. So where is the causal body in there? In all of that? It is everywhere, in everything that we do. And the point is for us to realize that. Because once we realize that, wait, I have a causal body. It's like you wake up and you realize you have a causal body, whether you're on the bus, whether you're in the streets, whether you're walking, you're on the plane, wherever you are. Once you realize you have a causal body, you're not in time anymore. You're no longer third dimensional. You're not even fifth dimensional. That is to say, you're no longer thoughts, but you've escaped time and you've entered the body of divine will. And divine will does not have desire. There is no desire. It is deathless. So the fear of death is transcended. The fear of living itself, some people fear living, is also transcended. The fear is also transcended because there's no linear thought, there's no linear thinking, there's no past, there is no future in the sixth dimension of the causal body. So it is the cause of all causes and effects. It is that which brings rise to a cause and an effect. But it is beyond all causes and all effects. So this body, the causal body, is very, very important to study and then practice to get in touch with it. Everybody has a causal body, but it's a seed. So it's like you have seeds in your house, but you've never really planted them to see what's going to happen when you plant them, and then you water them and see, oh, that's what it looks like when it grows. So the same thing that I mentioned, when you go to the gym, you have a body, maybe you look a little bit skinny and you're like, wow, it's a seed. Exercise 2 days, 3 days, 1 month, 2 months, like, whoa, I had no idea the body can become that. So it is the same with the causal body. It needs to be exercised, tapped into, and consistently engaged with. So it doesn't matter where you are in the third dimension. The causal body is beyond time, it's everywhere, and our job is just to exercise willpower consistently in order to get in touch with it. Because there is a danger in being alive as a physical entity and not knowing that there's something beyond that. Knowing that there's something beyond that gives you a real life, a soul life, whereby you're not intimidated, you're not in fear of anything, but you're serene at peace, not with a smirk, but because you know the physical body is not all there is. The vital body is not all there is, that is energy. Most people get attached to energy. They feel so energetic, they feel so alive, they want to do a lot of things, and they feel that's the real spirit. It's still fine. Most people are emotional. They love to fall in love, chase romantic partners, start a family, astral body. That is the astral body. Fifth dimensional. Love is great. Love is amazing. All poets write about love. Most people are intellectuals. They like to think, philosophize, talk about esoteric traditions, discuss, go to seminars. Mental body, fifth dimensional. But the causal body is sixth dimensional. It is the cause of all these causes. So going to the source gives you so much juice, gives you so much motivation, so much drive, because you realize there is no time. So the only thing to do is to jump back into time and just, I don't know what you want to do with your time. But most people are in a rush, and the philosophy here is saying you're in a rush because you don't know what's really going on. No need to rush. Why are we rushing? If we really knew the sixth dimension, if I really knew the sixth dimension, maybe we wouldn't rush so much. We wouldn't be in a rush. Emotional rush is usually caused by fear. And if you go deep down into it, it's probably the fear of death, or the fear of rejection, or the fear of what are they going to think if I don't make it, or the fear of what am I going to do if I don't do what my parents tell me to do and I don't make it. Mental body, astral body. which leads the physical body to move around like a chicken with its head cut off. So the point of this lecture, this specific slide, get in touch with the causal body, the divine will. The will of God has no desire. You get there, then everything is going to fall into place. Your mind will fall into place, your emotions will fall into place, and your physical body will naturally begin to follow. Not in a rush, but in a calm vibrational state. Because if you're outside of time, if you are outside of time, then you understand that time itself does not end in the way that we think it ends. It just reboots. Because the cause of time never ends. It's always eternal. It's always present. It's always fulfilled, satisfied, and whole. So in other esoteric traditions, the causal body is known as the soul, the human soul. All human beings collectively, we can call it the human soul. Let's move on. In order to understand it further, think of it this way. You have your physical body, third dimensional. So if you walk around, if you go from location A to location B, you will find out that your scene or environment has changed, but your thoughts can still be the same. That's because the thoughts are in the fifth dimension, so the physical body cannot escape thoughts. It's bound by them. These are the principalities and authorities that keep humanity in check, managing, or in order. So these principalities are beyond the third dimension, which is why you can be in your apartment, in your house, be thinking about something. You travel with an airplane to the other side of the earth, and you realize you're still the same. You're still thinking the same things. You can take the person out of the environment, but you can't take the environment out of the person. That is an esoteric statement, which is deeper than what most people would want to realize. It is saying that your thoughts are fifth dimensional. So wherever the third dimensional body goes, it doesn't matter, because the thoughts are always going to be like right there in the fifth dimension, encompassing the physical body. So in order to cut through that veil of illusion, we need to cut through it and go straight to the causal body and realize wherever I go, I am soul. S-O-U-L. In other words, thoughts use energy from the soul. Emotions use energy from the soul. And you might ask, well, doesn't the soul eventually run out of energy? Well, it's a good question. The only thing that runs out of energy is something that is in time, because it has a beginning and an end. So if something doesn't have a beginning and an end, it cannot run out. It's eternal. So we could have centuries of time. In the causal body, it's like a split second, because nothing happened. It looks like nothing happened, even if vast amounts of time have passed. In the causal body, it's all in the now. It's all in the moment. It's all in the present awareness moment. Not the moment of the third dimension only. So the third dimension scene can change, but the moment of existence. We are in a moment of existence. If we could only just realize that right now we're in the moment of existence, timeless, but in time, it would be a shocker. All concepts would just dissolve, and we would be immersed in a peaceful, endless, spacious eternity. Eventually, we'll have to come back because of cause and effect. We have set some causes into motion, and we need to receive those effects like a boomerang. We have done things, we have thought things which we shouldn't think, so those things will come back around eventually to, for us to pay our debts. Now let's move on to the next one, the principle of mentalism. So the principle of mentalism states that the all is mind, the universe is mental. Thoughts lead to the manifestation of things and events. Thoughts create our state of existence and the quality of our experience here on earth. Therefore, be responsible for everything you create by being responsible for everything that you think. So the principle of mentalism, now we're in the fifth dimension. This is where creation happens for the individual human being. A thought can create. It is creative in essence because it is coming from that eternal creation, the soul, the causal realm, the causal plane. So, the soul or causal body precedes thought. If we look at the diagram before, we have Tiferet, the causal body. It precedes thought. It's before thought. Have you ever wondered what was there before the first thought? Before the first thought emerged, what was there? The causal body. Endless, eternal, at peace, at rest, lacking nothing. So the soul or causal body precedes thought, and thought then precedes action. So in other words, if I think I want to go to that corner of the room, then I walk over there. It means the thought came first and then the body followed the thought to that position. So the third dimension is the world of effects. Everything we see in the third dimension was once a mental construct. So when you look around, you see tables, chairs, spoons, and forks. Those spoons and forks were once a mental construct. Someone thought, and then they had to create it so that it manifests physically. It's not magic, but it is magic. So the mental body is fifth dimensional. Wherever one goes, their thoughts are still there with them, just as the soul which enlivens both thoughts and the body. So the principle of mentalism has thoughts, emotions, which precede actions. So the stories we tell ourselves impact our emotions and our actions. So in order to change the trajectory of your physical existence, it is irrelevant to change the physical body itself. What we need to change is the source, the thoughts, which will then direct the emotions, which is the feminine aspect, which will then drive the body with care to do what we must do. So when we look at this trinity, the thoughts are the father, the creative essence. The emotions are the mother, the feminine aspect, which then give birth to a son, a male child, who then acts on behalf of humanity. Now, this story is in all religions. Osiris impregnates Horus in the Egyptian mythology, and they give birth. Osiris impregnates Isis in Egyptian mythology, and then they give birth to Horus. So, the thoughts and the emotions, this is masculine and feminine principles, the principles of gender, which then give us the third aspect of action. So this triangle is a very powerful triangle if one meditates upon it. We think, but after we've had an idea, we need to impregnate that idea into the sphere of emotion, care, Do we care enough to do what we have thought, or do we end in thoughts? That has been impotent. The thoughts have failed to impregnate the feminine aspect of the individual, care. So once the feminine aspect has been impregnated, that's care, we then have that action. We put the ideas into action. With that being said, we have come to the end of this presentation. I sincerely hope that it was helpful for individuals to understand the dynamics which actually, in reality, operate in nature. What creates reality? What creates even your own subjective reality? Your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions. So in order to change your own reality, you need first to change your thoughts. But you can change your thoughts if you have inadequate information. So knowledge needs to be fed into the soul. Once knowledge is fed into the soul, you can have new progressive thoughts, the caring aspect, and then you take the required actions in order to get the results that you desire. With that being said, we have come to the end. I would like to thank you for your attention. Stay blessed, stay peaceful, and remember, stay mindful.